I've been watching and filming the red-tailed hawks in Providence's North Burial Ground each year for the last 6 years. This is the story of the nesting season of 2022. I first noticed the nest on January 9th. I'm sure they'd started building it a little bit before, but this is the first time I'd noticed it and found it. This is what they do. A hawk will grab a branch. That one it dropped, but that's what they do. They grab it with their sharp bill, kind of cut through it, and then bring it back to the nest. They use a weight sometimes to help. Here's a hawk that is actually pushing branches into the nest. We see them do this a lot. It's very rare that you actually catch them grabbing a branch and flying back to the nest with it, but occasionally. But, you know, this is what an adult red-tailed hawk looks like. They're pretty big. They're among the bigger hawks around, and they're all over the place. This is the nest in February, and you can see it's kind of thin and sparse. They started working on it for a month, but they haven't really done much with it. But, you know, as the season progresses, they pick up. Each year they start to lay eggs at a different point. Last year they started to lay eggs very early, and it was in like late March. This year they didn't lay eggs until in late April, and so the hawks fledged. But you can see they're working with the nest. They're picking up sticks and kind of shoving them in. It's kind of hard when all you've got is a beak to do that with. That's a pretty full nest. You compare that to what it looked like in January, and you can see that it's very different. They've added a lot to it. I like to catch them flying. They fly near the nest. They fly away from the nest. Sometimes you get them flying to the nest. But anyways, this is one that's flying around not far from the nest. Then we go right back to looking at the nest, working on the nest. This is the end of March already. You can see it's a pretty good sized nest. You know, very rarely, partly because of the way the things work out, you don't see two adult hawks on the nest very often. Here we'll see one take off. Here we go. From here, April 7th, the hawk was mostly on the nest, so I assume that sometime around then they started laying eggs. I don't know exactly when. You don't ever really see them that you can tell, and I was taking all these videos from 300 feet away and 100 feet below the nest, so it's kind of hard, but it looks like they're starting to sit on the nest at this point. Here, one of the hawks, probably from sitting on the nest too much, decides to take a bath. Kind of cool. Here we are on May 20th, and it actually almost looks like there's babies in there. You know, if they were starting to sit on the nest on April 7th, and 6 weeks later, it looks like there's babies hooked up. And, you know, it seems like it's tending. You can't really tell. The babies at this point are small enough that you can't see them over the top of the nest. But it does look like it. It looks like, you know, either tending the nest or ripping up something to feed them, you know. And as the babies get bigger, they get bigger pieces. So, you know, it's hard to with just a beak to cut up pieces of meat very small. There, you see what it's got in its legs. It's got a big hunk of meat. I don't know exactly what that is. Could have been a muskrat. Could have been a rat. I'm not sure. But anyways, it flies over to the nest, and right after that, this one starts cutting it up and feeding it to the babies. It's going to be quite the scene. You can see 2 babies in this picture. They eventually end up 3, and you'll see all 3 in the course. But you can see how delicate it is. It's like, you know, cutting them up and giving them really little pieces, and more of it over the time. And, you know, I mean, this is the time of year they got to catch a lot of stuff, because there's a lot of mouths to feed. They got 3 babies. They're bringing home stuff all the time, because these guys grow. You look at them, here's a week later, and look how fast they're growing. They're actually much more mobile. They're stronger. They sit up higher. It's kind of amazing how fast they really grow. This is the same scene. Now you could see at least two, and maybe I think I got a glimpse of the third one in this video. But you can see they're just, tearing up the meat and handing it out. And they'll be doing that for weeks, and you can see the thing standing up, and it's kind of weak and wobbly, and it can barely flap its wings. You'll see them as they grow. It's an amazing set of scenes. Here you are 10 days later. Look how much bigger they are, how much more mobile they are. You can see that they're just starting to turn brown, which means that they're actually starting to get feathers. A week later, look how much darker the wings are. That really, those feathers are growing in. They're going to start flapping them more and more every time you see them. There's June 30th. Look how much bigger they are. They're starting to look like real hawks. They're starting to get the coloration pattern, the breast pattern, but they're starting to do it. Now, here we are, July 5th. A month later than last year, they're out of the nest. They're climbing around. I don't know if they're flying yet by this point. Here on July 8th, the hawk is making the feed me call. There you can see all three of the young ones at once. One in the upper right, one in the center, one in the lower left. And, they're flying from tree to tree. You can tell an immature hawk, these are now already flying all over the cemetery because they don't have the red tail. They just have a tail that's mottled brown. Again, here we are in September, and you can see this one is standing there. There's another one up in the tree. And we're going to end this video with these now flying hawks, and we'll give you one last glimpse of a hawk flying in slow motion.
We worked out of the home again in 2022, which gave us plenty of time to watch the birds in our backyard. Many of our resident favorites let us study them once again. The cardinals, juncos, and chickadees are staples of consistent winter behavior. Sparrows are omnipresent, but our solitary overwintering robin only showed up on snowy days. 4 conversational blue jays visit us daily. We adore the juncos for their kicking behavior that exposes seeds other birds have not found. The juncos are early risers, so we get up before sunrise to scatter seeds, so they do not have to contend with all those sparrows. The chickadees thrilled us by making a successful nest and adding 3 new babies to their numbers. We learned that chickadees need a narrower entry hole to keep out the sparrows. The nest we found when we cleaned out their house was as soft as the finest human mattress. The chickadees and wrens vocalize familiar calls we hear year-round. We are attuned to hearing them amongst the background noise of our busy urban neighborhood. The unique shades of brown on a Carolina wren grew on us. The first oriole arrived on May 4th, after 3 years of arriving on May 3rd. We became a bit apprehensive. Once again, the female arrived 2 days after the male. Both have such gorgeous plumage. We finally figured out the ants and the bees so the orioles could eat in peace. We spray organic olive oil over the jelly, and the bees are no longer interested. There were many babies for a second year, from the 2 pair who visited us daily. We thought that they had all left us in September, but we saw an oriole eating from the thistle mix on November 14th. We contacted the experts who provided readings exploring why a few orioles are not migrating. The other species seemed very curious. Each seemed to come visit the oriole while he ate. We were very worried as he made his way through the first cold snap of single-digit temperatures. He seemed to eat his usual summer fare, but we also fed him soaked mealworms daily for extra protein. He settled into a daily routine, which we assume includes visiting other feeders in the area. Irma spent a lot of time trying to capture the flitting birds that don't stop long at the feeders. A nuthatch, hummingbird, and tufted titmouse required a lot of patience. One hummingbird came around often during the latter half of summer. So small, and yet no bird seemed to bother with the busy collection of pollen. Tufted titmouse came less often. A grosbeak only visited a half-dozen times at the start of summer. More than ever before, we studied the woodpeckers that come around as often as the songbirds. They are the opposite of ephemeral visitors. The Harrys and Downies come multiple times a day and eat their fill each time. A juvenile male studied the action as if in school. The flickers love suet and sit in our small backyard trees after a meal. The flickers often come in pairs and linger as confidently as any other bird. They have come more and more often as we figured out caring for native plant species. The red-bellied comes less often, but gives us plenty of time to photograph them when they do. We decided to be better prepared for the bunnies that come off into our backyard. We built a test greenhouse so bunnies would not have access to all our food crops. We let the grass grow and did not mow the clover. Once again, Yolanda, our resident female groundhog, had plenty of babies. They were keen to nibble the grass as well. We have adapted our garden to have plants they are not interested in. We had plenty of greens for the summer as a result. Our butterfly garden is mature and colorful for most of the summer. We had many monarch butterflies visit, and we were excited to find the first monarch caterpillars we'd ever seen among them. As 2022 came to a close, we were still waiting for nature to come full circle with the first snowstorm of the season.
Yeah, I see him.
Oh, it's eating a frog. That's why.
Ah.
Oh, no. Shoot, where'd it go? Oh. I feel bad. Oh no! Oh no! The frog's still alive. I see some blood on it, but I managed to get out a little. Man, I can't believe it didn't suffocate yet.
Osprey are fascinating birds. One of the many remarkable things about osprey is how very quickly the chicks grow to nearly full size over the short breeding season. Let's follow one osprey family as they lay eggs, chicks hatch, and the chicks grow until they fly south for the winter. In New England, osprey typically return from their summer nesting grounds in March. The female lays 2 to 4 eggs in April, and eggs hatch 5 to 6 weeks later in early June. These offspring fledge 50 to 55 days later in August, then leave for a 4,500-mile migration to South America in October. In 2022, our osprey pair were seen at the nest along the Pettiquamscut estuary, also known as Narrow River, in mid-March. These are the same osprey who have nested at this site since 2020. Soon after our osprey returned in mid-March, they were observed copulating. One egg was observed in the nest on April 20, and on April 23rd, a second egg was seen. A third egg was also laid around this time, but it was difficult to see in the deep center of the nest. After 5.5 weeks of incubation, the first egg of this year hatched on May 29. A second chick could be seen in the nest the very next day, May 30. A third chick could be seen on June 2nd. Sadly, on June 9, the smallest chick died. This is a wild osprey nest, and anything can happen. While we hope that healthy osprey chicks will end up fledging from the nest each season, things like sibling rivalry, predators, and natural disaster can affect this osprey family. As hard as it was to see one of the chicks perish, we let nature take its course, and we did not intervene. As the chicks grow, it can be challenging to distinguish them from their parents. Juvenile osprey have white duff at the tip of each dark feather, creating a speckled effect on the tops of their wings and their backs, whereas the adults have completely dark feathers in these areas. Additionally, the chicks have orange irises, where osprey adults have bright yellow irises. The chicks practice lifting into the air before they leave the nest for the first time. On July 27th, both chicks were seen to fledge the nest for the first time. They return to the nest many times after this to receive food from their parents, who continue bringing them food as the chicks learn to fish on their own. The last day that either chick was observed in the nest was September 14, 108 days since the first chick hatched. All 4 of our osprey left the area to migrate to their winter nesting grounds in South America, likely the Amazon rainforest. Each bird travels independently. Although the adult male and female will return to the nest next year, the chicks will stay in South America for their first summer season, then start migrating annually like their parents at about age 1.5. From May 30th to August 30th this year, the chicks grew to nearly full size in only 3 months. We find this remarkable. Narrow River Preservation Association and Narrow River Land Trust are pleased to host a live 24-hour webcam on an osprey nest in South Kingstown, Rhode Island, overlooking the Pettaquamscut Estuary, also known as Narrow River. The webcam, available to the public, provides the opportunity to observe an osprey family throughout their breeding season. Many thanks to all who make this osprey webcam possible, especially Craig Wood. Special thanks to the Farrell family, who donate the operating costs of this webcam in memory of Eileen Farrell. All are welcome to visit narrowriver.org/ospreycam to learn more about osprey.
Hi, it's Kim Gaffett, the OVF naturalist on Black Island with the Nature Conservancy, and I found a dead bird beneath the wires. It's unfortunately had a badly broken wing. It's a very interesting bird. It's an American bittern. They're found throughout the northern United States and southern Canada, and then they go into the coastal regions of all of the United States, both coasts, and into Mexico for their wintering grounds. Unfortunately, on in Rhode Island, they're not known to breed anymore, although I think it's possible. There's 1 or 2 on Black Island now and then. I do see 1 or 2 sightings every year, flybys. But the American bittern is a beautiful, secretive bird. It's got this wonderful long bill, long neck, long legs and toes and feet. It spends all its time in a marsh looking for snakes and frogs and all kinds of bugs. It has wonderful coloration, patterning for it. Look at that wing. When I pull that out, it looks just like the color of Phragmites and the reeds and cattails that it lives in. So, beautiful bird. Unfortunately, it's returning to nature. And you can see how it just fits in perfectly with the Phragmites. When it's in its stealth pose, standing tall in the Phragmites and cattail reeds, it's almost invisible and hard to see. All right, back to nature.
something more than soup to keep me satisfied. Give me food, that's what I want. Bolognese all through the days, can't wait to the mayonnaise. Give me food, that's what I want. A chicken curry, bring it here in a hurry. It's food that I want. Don't pound me up with vegetables. I need something more delectable. A big roast dinner with meat to spare. I wanna eat like I'm a billionaire. I need something more than peas to keep me satisfied. Give me food.
Why we do what used to be called organic farming and now is regenerative farming is because sort of the purpose of humankind is to be stewards of the earth. Get this feeling of what we think is ordinary in life. There's a lot of extraordinary happenings. We just don't know all the laws of nature. Trying to work in harmony with it, you feel like things are improving, and it gives you a good sense of joy.
I think a lot of people think of agriculture as working against nature. I'm so fortunate to have grown up seeing that we actually can work with nature. I'm finding the more and more that we can foster a healthy soil, we're getting so many soil insects, microbiology in that soil, which is then feeding our plants. All these insects show up. It's really amazing. Beautiful pollinators and butterflies.
It's a life force that you're working with, and there's some kind of intelligence there. We may not understand it. A life force that eventually you start to feel one with. You feel your connection, your oneness with nature.
And we're so not alone. There's so much life around us, and realizing that we are part of it is really why we're doing what we're doing. So we're making compost at a big scale so that everybody in Rhode Island could really enliven their gardens, growing beautiful food and just creating a great farm here.
By taking care of things and not fighting against nature, we've learned that you can have a wonderful life.
Where are you going?
Follow the wind.
They're not gonna hit us.
No.
Oh my God! Oh! 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 Maybe they will. Maybe they're like right.
Hmm? I want to get out in front of them. I don't want them reaching on us. That's what I'm saying.